Hey everyone, welcome back to the Motor World. If you've been waiting for a proper body-on-frame SUV that still feels tough in 2026, this one's for you. Because the 2026 Toyota Fortuner is shaping up to be the kind of SUV that doesn't need to shout to prove a point. It just shows up ready for the city, the highway, and that let's take the long way, dirt road. And here's the interesting part. Toyota doesn't seem interested in turning it into a soft crossover. The Fortuner is still about strength, durability, and real SUV attitude, just with a sharper look and smarter tech. So in this video, we're breaking down what's new outside, what's improved inside, what early reports are saying about the engines, and how it stacks up against rivals like the Ford Everest and others in this class. Stick around to the end, because the hybrid talk could be the biggest twist in the Fortuner story. Let's start with the first thing that hits you, the design. Early looks suggest the 2026 Fortuner will look tougher and more intentional. Up front, it's expected to get a bolder face with a larger, darker grille and sharper LED headlights that feel more modern and more aggressive than before. The goal is simple: make it look wider and more planted even when it's parked. And what really sells the rugged vibe is the stance. The Fortuner has always had that tall, commanding ride height, but the latest design direction seems to lean into it harder with chunkier fender flares, protective cladding, and a more trail-ready look. It gives off real off-road energy without looking overdone. It looks built. From the side, the Fortuner's proportions should stay classic SUV. Long hood, tall body, thick pillars, and a strong shoulder line. And if you've ever driven a Fortuner, you already know the high seating position is a big part of the experience. You sit up high, you see everything, and the drive feels more confident. Around the back, updates are expected to continue, with redesigned LED taillights, sharper detailing, and a roof spoiler that's not just for style. It can help clean up airflow, add speed, and add a sportier finish. And importantly, it still looks like a real SUV, not a hatchback. That matters to Fortuner fans. Overall, Toyota seems to be aiming for a sweet spot. Tough enough to look like a mountain warrior, clean enough to still look premium in an urban setting. Basically, it can pull up to a nice hotel or a muddy trail and not feel out of place. Now let's talk about the interior, because this is where Toyota usually wins people over long term. Inside, the 2026 Fortuner is expected to feel more modern, more refined, and less old-school utilitarian. The big upgrade most people will notice first is the screen. Early expectations point to a larger central display, roughly in the 10 to 12-inch range depending on trim, with smoother graphics and a faster interface. And in 2026, infotainment is one of those make-or-break details. Material quality is also expected to improve, with more soft-touch surfaces, cleaner stitching, and metallic accents that make the cabin feel less basic and more premium. Not luxury car premium, but the kind of upgrade you appreciate on long drives. Seating should remain one of the Fortuner's strongest points. Spacious, supportive, and that high driving position gives you the feeling you're in control instead of sitting down in the vehicle. That's a major reason people choose SUVs like this over crossovers. There's also talk of a more modern instrument cluster setup, blending Toyota's classic simplicity with a more updated layout. And honestly, that's a good thing. Toyota usually focuses on clean, readable, and dependable tech, not flashy gimmicks. In real-world driving, that's what most people want. All right, now the big question: what's under the hood? This is where the Fortuner has always been about power with purpose, not numbers for bragging rights. In many markets, early reports suggest Toyota will continue with the proven 2.8-liter turbo diesel. The exact output will depend on region and tuning, but the real story is torque. Because torque is what helps on climbs, overtaking with a loaded cabin, towing in rough terrain where you need pulling power, not just top speed. An updated automatic transmission is also expected to be smoother, which should improve daily comfort and off-road control. And if Toyota refines the shifting logic, the Fortuner could feel more polished without losing its tough personality. Now here's where things get interesting: the hybrid conversation. There's growing talk that Toyota could introduce a turbo hybrid Fortuner option at some point in the lineup. If that happens, it could be a huge deal. Hybrid power in a body-on-frame SUV isn't just fuel savings. It can also mean instant torque, smoother acceleration, and better response off the line. That would give the Fortuner a modern edge, especially in markets where emissions rules and fuel prices are pushing buyers toward electrified options. And off-road, Toyota is expected to keep focusing on capability. Improvements like stronger four-wheel drive hardware, better terrain modes, and tougher differentials are the kind of upgrades that matter to real SUV buyers. Because the Fortuner doesn't exist to look tough, it exists to do tough. So where does it sit in the market? The competition is strong. Ford Everest, Mitsubishi Pajero Sport, Nissan Terra, Isuzu MU-X, and others depending on where you live. But Toyota's advantage is what happens after the purchase. Reliability, reputation, wide service support, and resale value that stays strong. That's why the Fortuner has been a favorite in so many markets. It isn't always the flashiest, but it's the kind of SUV people trust, the type that gets bought by families, business owners, and anyone who needs something dependable that can handle bad roads without drama. Now the big unknown, timing and price. Launch timing and pricing will vary by region, but early expectations suggest a reveal could happen around late 2025, with rollouts starting through 2026 depending on market schedules. Pricing will also depend heavily on trim and taxes, but the Fortuner is unlikely to be a budget SUV. It's a serious, rugged family SUV with real capability, and it will be priced like one. So here's the final vibe. The 2026 Toyota Fortuner looks like it's doubling down on what made it popular in the first place. Tough stance, real-world durability, and a confident driving feel. Now with a modern refresh that makes it look sharper and feel more premium. Now I want to hear from you. Would you take the Fortuner over the Ford Everest or the MU-X? And if Toyota drops a turbo hybrid Fortuner, does that make it the new king of this segment? Drop your thoughts in the comments and comment Fortuner if you'd pick it over the Everest. Hit like if you enjoyed the breakdown and subscribe to the Motor World because we've got more 2026 SUVs coming very soon.